bad, right?
It's pretty awesome.
Little Mike Tyson, little Jeff Glover, Coach Andy, Sensei Andy.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Sonnen, Tag Fit, boom. Horace Gracie, our little Horace Gracie, Hickson Gracie. When was the first time you watched UFC?
The first Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah? When it came out or on VHS?
No, when it came out.
Okay.
Like my dad liked reality TV, I guess. And we started watching that. Was it Stephen Bonner and...
The Ultimate Fighter.
Ultimate Fighter.
Gotcha, yeah. 2005-ish, yeah. Cool.
That was my introduction to MMA.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you grow up doing martial arts?
I did like Taekwondo when I was little.
Okay.
But didn't stick with it, unfortunately. I didn't really get into boxing until I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you play any of the sports?
Oh, yeah. I was a big runner.
Runner?
Yeah.
Track?
Ran track. I was a sprinter and a jumper. I was the team captain my senior year. I learned a lot about like leadership and guiding others. Yeah, it was really cool.
Where are you from?
I grew up just north of Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, like 45 minutes. Gurnee, Waukegan.
Okay.
It's a small town.
Cool.
Yeah.
What brought you to LA?
I ask myself that sometimes still.
Muay Thai.
Yeah. No, I wanted to build a life for myself, and I felt like I could see all the possible paths for myself there, and I didn't like the way any of it looked.
In where you were at?
In my hometown, yeah. And it was, not to take anything away from anybody who's there, but
it
just didn't sound appealing to me. I was like, there's a whole world out there. Why would I limit myself to this town of 30,000 people or whatever?
Why'd you choose LA out of all the places? New York and bigger, not Miami, other bigger cities?
It was literally a coin flip between LA and New York.
Okay.
Because it was as far as away as I could get.
Okay, gotcha.
From the polar opposites. I'm glad I landed in
And as big as of a city as you could find?
Pretty much,
Like the exact opposite of where you were at before?
Yeah. And the city of Chicago is awesome. I love it there. Food, culture, everything's awesome. But the weather was a big thing too. You know, seasonal depression is a real thing. You grew up on the East Coast, right?
I went to high school in New York.
New York. Yeah, those winters are rough.
Yeah, especially the Chicago area. Man, they didn't call it Windy City for nothing, right?
Oh, my God. I think a couple weeks ago they had a big polar vortex or whatever. It was colder in Chicago than it was in Antarctica. Crazy.
How does that happen?
Dude.
It's crazy. So we call you Coach Roadhouse. I think most people don't even know your name. Right? Do you think that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a lot of people don't know my name.
Roadhouse. How did that nickname start?
It's intertwined with how I started training, actually.
Okay.
I was bartending. I still bartend occasionally, but I was bartending in Glendale. And before they called me that, they called me Captain Reasonable.
Reasonable?
Reasonable.
Okay.
Because there was 1 week where I had to stop 3 fights at the bar. And that's when I realized I didn't know how to fight. But my goal was always to end it without like physical conflict. I was always trying to talk people down. And at the time, Roadhouse had just come out on Netflix, like the original with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah.
And that movie was playing. I think every one of those fights I stopped. And they were like, wow, you really like keep it calm and cool. And it's the name Roadhouse.
Oh, so you had the nickname before you came here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This was like 2013, 2012.
Wow, okay. Cool.
And it just stuck. It's just a cool nickname, I guess, you know? And that's when I started boxing, too. I was like, well, I don't know how to fight, so I need to learn how to fight, at least defend myself.
So you started boxing, and then you later on found Muay Thai?
Yeah, I started boxing, and I realized that, you know, I was ignoring so many other tools. A friend of mine had started training jiu-jitsu at the same time. He got into, like, Krav Maga as well. You know, I was getting... The apartment I was living in, I was dealing with crazy people late at night when I got home from the bar, trying to fight or rob me, and it was just... a bunch of things were kind of tough, and I just wanted to know how to handle myself. So quickly transitioned from boxing to Muay Thai. I was training with, do you know Sean Yakubian?
Of course, I know Sean, yeah.
Yeah, he was my first kickboxing.
And he's in Chatsworth, right?
Yeah. Great guy. Sean was awesome. And then pretty quickly I moved to Monrovia. I wound up training with Crew Walt. That's at Yaltong.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was out there for about a year, and then I eventually moved to Burbank, and I found home.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Cool. I didn't know you had moved to Monrovia for that time too. Yeah, it's funny. It's interesting. All those guys are like interconnected with my story here in LA as well. Like Sean, you know, his coach, his longtime Pete Cunningham, not Pete Cunningham. What's his name? Oh my God.
The Sugarfoot and Rick O'Kane.
Rick O'Kane.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Rick. Yeah. So Rick O'Kane, and he was helping Jared Papazian for like a lot of years, you know. So yeah, cool. So they used to always come by, and I used to see Sean for many years. Actually saw him at the Master Worlds. No, actually the Nogi Worlds last month or December.
Oh, dope.
We were just talking and catching up.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
Little did I know at the time that I would be, meeting so many interconnected figures.
Yeah. He's a really good guy. Smart, good Muay Thai, good brain, good mind.
Yeah, he really introduced me in such a great way, taught me a lot, was very welcoming, even though he didn't know me from anybody. I was on a budget at the time, kind of cut me a deal to help me train more.
Nice.
Yeah, so I really appreciate Sean. Every time I see him, got to give him a lot of love.
And how about Crew Walter? That's so cool. I didn't know that you had trained over there as well. When he came here, I didn't realize that we're all like kind of this big family in a way, right? Yeah. Extended family.
Yeah. Crew Walt was awesome when I went over there. That's when I started training a little more seriously. I was training like 3 or 4 days a week, getting into it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Crew Walt was great. All his coaches over there, became friends as well. Brandol and Wilson, Josh, all those guys. So I've been very, very fortunate to meet a lot of cool people. And
one of the things I appreciated about Walter and the Cedar Tong, right, is just he had a lot of like traditional like Muay Thai cultural things in the gym, and he was very into that. And so for me, it made it cool, And then like he used to do like I don't know if he still does it, but like a yearly trip to Thailand. And I went after one of my fights, and I just met up with them, for a day, and it was really cool. It's like one of the greatest, right? the Cedar Tong gym, gyms ever, right?
No doubt.
Champions and the lineage.
Oh, left and right, the Samat Payakalun, crazy. Yeah, just constant champions come out of that gym. Wilson and Lynn, his wife Lynn, is really good too. The ballistic ballerina. Mm-hmm. Just monsters over there.
Yeah.
They're so good. Yeah, Crew Walt, they used to play I'm sure they still do, they play the traditional Thai music during class.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a shock when I first went in. I was like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, that's when I first met Sensei Andy. He was like, he would work all day and then he would come at night and he'd just be like on fire, just enthusiastic. I mean, that was like 2000, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, I think, almost.
Shoo.
I think. Wait, late 2000, so 2008. So, yeah, about that, right?
Yeah, about that. I think he's been training over 20 years.
Yeah. Almost 20 years ago.
Crazy.
Yeah, so I was really, really excited that he was available to be able to teach here,
Hey, so you guys go, I mean, it blows my mind when some of these guys come in, Sensei Andy, of course, and Crew Walt, but especially like the jiu-jitsu guys that come in, you've been friends with for 30 years.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's something to look forward to for us,
Yeah, for sure. And that's how it should be, right? That's the right way to do things, right?
Yeah.
And you can look back, you see, maybe you don't see them every day, but you see them like whatever, at certain occasions, and you're able to catch up and reconnect,
Yeah, it's like a reunion every time.
Exactly. Yeah, like the big tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Even the point sparring stuff or the fights that we go to, especially with Andy, but even me nowadays, is like I see so many people I know that I've run into over the years. Sensei Dwayne's seminar he did. Yeah. So many faces I haven't seen in so long. And Coach Matt, you were my first coach. Da-da-da-da-da. That's crazy. Be a part of it.
Like we were talking about Sean, his style, his kind of lineage, right? With Rick O'Kane and Sugarfoot, Cunningham, right? How do you compare that and Crew Walter, and then even like Bang Muay Thai? How do you explain it, and how do you you don't want to compare, but could you say a few words about it, each one?
Yeah. Interesting question. I think they're very similar in a lot of ways, the lineage.
You also trained at the MTA, right, for a bit? Like
I was at MTK with Crew Neil.
Okay.
He was Crew Rex's kind of stepson, if you know Crew Rex. He was kind of a legend as well. Of course, he passed away a couple years ago. Yeah, the lineage, I would say it's interesting because you pick up on the habits of your coaches, of course, right? But then you also kind of develop your own style over time. So it's been interesting to see kind of habits and from the lineage through Sugarfoot and Rick O'Kane through Sean, and then also with Crew Walt and training under Josh and Andy. Similar, they have similar styles, but they have their own spin on it. So it's cool. You get this collective of information, of technique, of style to kind of not pick and choose from. I mean, you absorb as much as you can, but then essentially you keep what is useful and discard what is useless, or not so much your style. So
what works for you, yeah.
Yeah. It's been rad to be able to take from so many different, high-level guys that are legends in the sport. I'm like honored, And then seeing in the Bang Muay Thai as well with the seminar, it was crazy seeing, we all practice under the system. We all practice Bang Muay Thai, but each school has their own kind of spin or twist on things. I think here at Legacy, we have definitely a more Thai influence from Andy, which is really cool. I love that traditional style Muay Thai.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of Bang Muay Thai black belts, right? And it was nice for me too. There was a guy from New York. We got different places, right? And they had their own things that they were better at, right? That they specialized in better.
Totally. Yeah, so it's cool. You get to kind of pick and pull from each of those. I got a couple of compliments on some of my strikes, and then I had to work on a few things, or I got advice to work on a couple things from different schools. Just picking up from everybody. That's the way I've always kind of been, is absorb from as many sources as you can.
Yeah. Well, we always try to bring in, right, people like different takes, different like high level people into Legacy, from jiu-jitsu to Muay Thai to even other modalities, right?
Absolutely. Capoeira and judo. I love it here. I would say it's more than a gym, It's not just, we don't just do Muay Thai. We don't just do jiu-jitsu or tac fit. It's all of that plus, judo and wrestling and the community and the people and the seminars we get.
Jungle Cafe.
Shout out. Oh, we're spoiled here for sure. And whenever we get people to visit, they always say the same
Revive,
thing.
right? You got the Revive Recovery Center with the cold plunges and saunas and all the other stuff.
Compression therapy and the fascia. Yeah. Yeah, it's a one-stop shop. What more could you ask for,
Yeah. How'd you get into to teaching? How did you get involved in, helping others?
I've always, from a very young age, I knew that I wanted to make a positive impression on the world. I just didn't know what that should be. And I kind of just put that in my back pocket for, I was like, I'm going to come across something and I'll share that with the world. And
where do you think that came from? Were your parents teachers or some kind of service?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Actually, I'll have to think about that. I don't know.
Because that's something in the heart, right? That the fact that you knew that, right?
Yeah. I felt like at a young age I realized that we all have an opportunity to make an impression, and that can be as large or as small as you want, And I wanted to make a big impact. We all got a limited time here on Earth, so I should do something good with it. I just didn't know what it would be, and I never planned on fighting. I never planned on teaching. I just wanted to know how to defend myself and kind of get in shape. And Andy was like, "We're adding a class. You're going to teach it." And I was like,
That's how it started, huh?
Yeah, because we didn't have Thursday mornings at 11 class.
Right.
And so I ended up sharing it with another guy, Matt Boylan.
That's right. It started so small, huh?
There were days where no one would show up.
It was like one class, right?
Yeah.
For you. Yeah, that's right. And now you're like full-time, like that's what you do.
It is, full-time gig.
Because you're at the bar, you work at the bar.
And that's just like a side thing now, like once a week, But I'm here full-time, 6 days a week, clients and classes and working out.
Kids now, right, as well?
The kids program's blowing up. I'm so proud of those little ninjas. Oh my gosh. It's been impressive. I don't have kids. I don't plan on having kids, but
okay. Why not?
I don't know. I'd never never appealed to me, I suppose. But I like helping teach these kids, seeing them grow and evolve. They learn so fast. They're little sponges. It's amazing. So I guess as I get older, I start to see the appeal a little bit more.
Of having kids.
Yeah. Still don't think so, but yeah, it's cool watching those kids figure it out, and they, as adults, as we grow, we come up with all these different boundaries and blocks in our brain that we don't realize, from trauma or experience or whatever. Mm-hmm. These kids don't have that. So sometimes I won't even teach them a technique. I'll just say, throw your left hand. I'm like, okay, that's good. I'll try to twist it a little more. And then they're throwing a perfect jab, in a week. Just blows my mind. I'm so honored to be a part of it.
And making a difference, right? Really changing their lives because they paid more attention to how their hand turned, their brains are more connected, and because of that, they're more aware of, like, they're aware of the spatial awareness, and because of that, you're better socially, you're better learning, you're better different things, right, that you do in life. Because you paid more attention to how your foot was or how your hand turned over, right?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
How connected all that is? Oh, it's awesome.
And we feel it too as adults, right? Just cleaning our technique, right?
Yeah.
Focusing.
Yeah, we know all the benefits of it, but still we get those roadblocks. As kids don't know they're getting all the benefits without those kind of roadblocks in the way. It's beautiful. And the parents too. Like I had the parent of one of the, I've talked to you a lot about, or quite a bit about the kids and, how it should be for the kids. And I think you've always told me they should be having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it's not fun, they don't want to do it. So, we make it fun. We make them work. But I've had a couple of parents, one in particular, a brother came up to me a couple weeks ago, and he was like, man, I just wanted to say thank you. My brother's been coming to this class for 3 months now, and I've never heard him talk so much. He's like 14 or 15, just a shy kid, and totally coming out of his shell. He's like, he doesn't say a word at dinner. Now he's telling us about his day, what's going on at school, just totally opened up. And to be a part of that. And he shook my hand, so, so thankful. And I was like, man, I just teaching him how to throw a kick,
Yeah. You think it's just that, right? But it's so much more. From our little kids to the teenagers to the adults to our savages,
Yeah.
He's almost 80 years old. He's downstairs shaking his hand and talking to him and catching up.
Dude, talk about goals. Keep training as you get older.
Yeah. Don't stop, right?
Oh, man. Yeah, it was a big turning point for me when I started training, in my life. I was like, I think I want to do this every day. I think I could do this every day until I die. I don't know how many things you can say that about, Crazy.
Yeah, you do, of course, Muay Thai, but now you do Jiu-Jitsu as well. And TACFIT as well,
Yeah. Oh, that TACFIT helped so much after I hurt my knee. So much. I still do those movements every day. Stretching, mobility stuff.
Moving your knee in that direction, moving your hip and all that.
Especially the legs. Oh.
Just better body awareness, right? And also knowing intuition on what to do, right, with your body.
Yeah, kind of like problem solving for different pains and aches or whatever. It's kind of, I always compare it to like a mechanic on a car, right? You got to kind of assess and attack different parts. Like, my knee is bugging me. Why? Well, I haven't stretched my calves in 3 days. Stretch the calves, feels better. I'm
doing this so much. I should pull myself the other way or flex the other part of my body too.
And one of my favorite things about ninjutsu is the cool down. Oh, I love that. I love that so much.
What do you love about the cool down?
Exactly what you're saying, pulling everything in the opposite direction. And so the physical benefits, of course, we're doing the bridges and little stretches at the end, putting our body back to the center after pulling it one direction. But then I love the last minutes. All right, close your eyes. Robert used to say it all the time, relax your jaw, relax your eyes, relax your neck and your shoulders, and work your way through the body. And it just becomes, body awareness, but also, learning to release that tension that you subconsciously hold. I love it. Does me so much good.
You feel better throughout the day after that?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And, getting that intense training out during the day, the rest of the day, early in the morning or early in the day, the rest of the day just becomes so much easier. Problem solving, dealing with family or whatever's going on in life is easier to handle after a good, tough workout and a nice cool down, reset the brain.
Do you feel a difference when you do the cool down and you don't do the cool down?
Totally. Absolutely. I feel like if I don't because sometimes I got to leave a little early, I got a client or I got to run home and work or whatever, I can totally feel a difference. So I usually, if I have to run out, I'll make time to do it later, but it's just not the same. Just a little more tension. Spend a little more time stretching at night. Just a little more achy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you love about, what did you start to love about teaching Muay Thai? Because you did the Thursdays, right? At the beginning, and now it's turned into, every day almost, right? I see you almost every day now.
Yeah.
So how did that become a lifestyle for you?
I think it was twofold. First, it was a kind of a pay it forward thing. When I started training with Sean, when I was training with Crew Walt, or here with Andy, before my first fight, him and Coach Kevin Tao, they went out of their way to help me, asked nothing in return, weren't charging me for private lessons. I mean, I was in fight camp, so they're staying after, working with me before class, after class. During my fights, they drove me to, I'm like, okay, I'll meet you guys out there. They're like, no. You need to focus on fighting today. We're going to drive you. We're going to take care of all that. They wouldn't even take gas money from me. So those guys did so much for me without asking for anything in return. It touched my heart. I was like, if I ever have the opportunity to give back and keep this kind of cycle of pay it forward going, I have to do that. So that was a really big part of it. Just kind of giving back to people and seeing, when it clicks in someone's mind, when everything kind of comes together, that moment of euphoria, live for that in my students. I think it's beautiful. And what was the second thing?
You made me think about the City of Tong and Crew Walter and just the culture that they had. When somebody had a fight, like everybody dropped everything and they went to the fights to support. Like Brian Avalar, remember Coach Brian Avalar?
Yeah.
Then of course Andy now, but like it's always been like that. When somebody has a fight, you stop everything and you go and support as part of the culture. And then whoever's fighting or whatever, because you're cutting weight sometimes, you're nervous, maybe you're newer, right, in the game, but like you fight so much harder and so much better, right, because you want to make everybody proud, you want to represent.
Yeah, you got a team behind you, right? Yeah, that must have been gnarly. I'm curious about your experience in the fighting professionally as well. Like, that's got to carry a lot of weight, having a whole team, or you're fighting internationally too, right? The whole nation behind you. It's got to be pretty powerful motivator, right?
Yeah, different experiences, right? Different things. So it's that big adventure, right? But fighting locally, especially when I was in New Mexico, was very interesting because, I had like arenas behind me, like people from all the schools like supporting me, and then you're like representing like the state you're representing, fully. Ooh. And then you're unstoppable. When you tap into something greater than yourself, then you're on it, you're in it.
Kind of sharpens the mind, huh?
Yeah, you tap into something bigger than yourself. That's the magic, and I think that's the magic too in teaching and helping others. Because it's not about us, It's about so much more. It's about everything and everybody.
Yeah, so powerful.
Giving, like connecting, helping.
Yeah, it's wicked.
And we think we're giving, but it helps us, right? When we give and help others.
Yeah, that was something Andy told me when I started teaching. I was like, man, I don't know. Should I be teaching? Are you sure about that? Like, I'm just, I'm a nobody, a new guy, whatever. He's like, teach what you know. Teach what you know. Mm-hmm. And man, that teaching helps you learn so much. I figured out so much while teaching.
You were studying and trying to really perfect your technique. You do that in jiu-jitsu. You're always asking me questions.
It never ends, right?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, that's who you want to be. That's who you want to be. And I knew you were going to be a good teacher once you started in jiu-jitsu asking me all the questions that you asked me. Hey, what about this? What about that? After class, those little things. Or in class, taking the time. Like, you're thinking about it, right? You're not just like doing it, going through the motions. You're like, no, I want to know. I want to understand.
Yeah. That felt like a hindrance in the beginning. I was like, I'd had some coaches in the past that were like, just, you need to think a little bit less. just try to do for a little while and just feel it. And the questions, the answers will come to you, the questions you have. But yeah, I have a hard time with that.
It's interesting, right? I mean, there's different approaches, and who knows what's right and what's wrong. Everybody learns differently, and some people ask questions and some people don't. Is it right or wrong either way? No. Right?
Absolutely.
But some people learn it, and we're here to serve. And yeah, I think I love it. I love when people actually break it down and ask good questions, or when they ask questions, when they make the effort, because sometimes like you don't want to ask in front of people.
It's nerve-wracking.
Yeah, people are nervous and they don't want to be whatever criticized or whatever. But yeah, man, this should be the environment we should be creating the environment where people want to know, want to understand, right, and really learn. Yeah, so I think it's cool when people ask questions, and I think that's the environment we should have always.
I mean, what an awesome thing we have this school where we can come train in our free time between classes, and we have that kind of setting where we can experiment and ask questions and toy around. Like, he's taught at other gyms where you sign your key card to get into class, and the class is over, you need to leave. And that's fine for some gyms, but we have a place here where between classes you can just kind of grab somebody, play around, ask questions, and you've got a dozen black belts or, higher ranked guys walking around that can answer your questions, or just having the ability to experiment and play and learn is so big, So I think that's where like you can create, figure stuff out.
Yeah. How do you compare jiu-jitsu to Muay Thai?
Oh, apples and oranges. Apples and oranges. It's a lot of it is about having control of your body, spatial awareness. I think that's important, but obviously the techniques are completely different. Mentality is similar, I suppose, too, but I like using them as a contrast to one another. When I get kind of plateaued or stuck in one, say for Muay Thai, for example, I'm kind of stuck and I don't feel like I'm progressing, I'm just kind of riding the wave. I'll shift my focus over to jiu-jitsu just to change up my brain and what I'm thinking about.
That's good.
And then I'll be able to progress, and maybe I plateau over there for a while, and then I'll shift my focus back, That's helped me a lot. Avoid those kind of plateaus where you feel like you're not getting any better. It's like, man, what did I say last week? I said to Professor Uday, I was like, man, am I getting worse at this? I'm going to take a break or just shift my focus over to Muay Thai. But yeah, I think the approach and the attitude is very similar. You have to be open to learning. You have to go through the repetitions. Yeah.
You give a case of why how you use training Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. Why do you recommend somebody should do both? Why should they do Jiu-Jitsu and Tag Fit? I'm sorry, Tag Fit, Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai.
Do Tag Fit. Definitely do Tag Fit.
And add Tag Fit in there too.
Yes. It'll only help everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, your question one more time.
So why should somebody do Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai? Why should they do both?
I think for the reasons I said already, to give your, it's difficult doing both at the same time. So you're kind of learning two languages, right? So the learning curve is really steep at the beginning. It's very challenging to be taking in information from two different languages, two different sports. But in the long run, those both ramp up together and your understanding becomes really great. So
do you think somebody should start out like a white belt, brand new person? Should they focus on one or the other and then later on add both?
I think at the first year, yeah. And I think it should be whatever you gravitate towards. I talk a lot of smack back and forth between the gym. Whenever I'm rolling, I'll talk a little smack to some of the, brown belts and black belts. Like, you guys got to start some striking. Like, what if I just did this? And they're like, oh. And I say the same thing on the other side to our guys that fight. I'm like, you guys need some grappling, because if I take you down, you can't do anything. What are you going to do? You have no experience. So I think it's important to do both. But the first year or so, whatever you're drawn to, I would focus on that first. Get comfortable, get past that hump of, some people get anxious whenever they come into, a gym. Whatever the preconceived notions they have in their brain, you got to shake that off and just show up and see how great it can be. Get comfortable with one and then start the other. I love doing both. Maybe that's kind of stagnated my growth a little in the short term, but I think in the long run is the right move. I feel somewhat well balanced.
Doing both. Doing both.
Yeah.
And then how does TAC-FIT tie into everything?
I mean, if you're not strength training, you're failing. I learned that after I tore my ACL. I wasn't doing any strength training whatsoever. I would do burpees, sure, but I wasn't doing stretching or recovery.
But would you say TAC-FIT is just strength training, or is it like what is TAC-FIT? Can you in your words?
I think it's a whole package. It's not about getting like buff. I suppose you could use it that way, but it's that's one of my favorite things, that they divide the class kind of in 3 sections, right? You have your kind of mobility and warm up. You could learn to communicate with your body, each individual joint from head to toe, and then you go through a variety of body weight or added weight exercises. The club bells are my favorite, kettlebells.
Activation, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's the middle chunk of that class, right?
Or the actual protocol, the actual training, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And the varying protocols too, those 4x1s. You're doing 4 minutes of one exercise with a minute break in between. It's just tests you a little bit. But I love that. So you're not only are you communicating with your body, understanding what's going on, but then you get to build some strength as well, and mobility. Mm-hmm. And the cool down, same thing at jiu-jitsu. Having that cool down and having all that in the class. I'd never taken a class like that until I took TAC-FIT. I've been to a couple CrossFit gyms here and there, and a lot of the other lifting classes or weight training classes I've been a part of have been solely on getting your numbers as high as you can. TAC-FIT's not like that. Longevity, mobility.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. Scott Stonna, the founder of TAC-FIT, right? He said a quote like years ago that really stuck with me. Like, your strength and conditioning shouldn't get in the way of your sport. It should just make you better at your sport. Like CrossFit, it's its own sport, right?
Yeah.
In a way. But TAC-FIT makes you better at just your sport. And not just your sport, but also just in life and everything, right? Being better at everything. But it makes your strength and conditioning should make you better at your sport. And so TAC-FIT makes you better at, if you're doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, it makes you better at both, right? If you're doing some other sport, wrestling or judo or whatever, gives you that body awareness.
It's only going to add to it, right?
Right. And so it's been fun, It's been fun, and it's been nice to see everybody improve their bodies and heal from injuries and learn how to maintain and prevent and recover, right? And also increase their performance with all the stuff that we do.
Oh yeah, I could 100% agree with it. I can vouch for it, After I hurt the knee, starting into, like I said, still doing those things every single day, especially the flow fit stuff. Like, I can just do that at home every morning.
You know what to do, right? You know what to do just from coming to class. If you don't have time to come to class, you can do it on your own in the morning or whenever you have time. So I feel the same.
And empowers you too. You feel empowered to take, control of your body, understand what's going on. Maybe not on a medical level, but surely in an operational level.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And it's only made me better at everything else.
Yeah. There was a program on TV. It was like a reality show called Alone, where they go to like Alaska or the Arctic Circle, and they get dropped off there.
Oh, right.
And they have to, like, I don't know, a few months. They have 2-3 months, and they have to make their own shelter. They have to hunt. They basically have like a knife and whatever, a couple things, And there was just like, he was like the top guy. He was like hunting. He was like building a shelter. Beast machine. And then he took the wrong step and sprained his knee. Okay. He's like, I'm going to keep an eye on it and see if it gets better. But he didn't have the basic awareness of like with the interflow moving the joints, like the TAC-FIT, right? Mm-hmm. And so if he would have known that, it would have been nothing,
Yeah.
He'd have been back within a couple days or a day or whatever, depending on whatever happened, but pretty fast. And then he wouldn't be just looking at it. He'd be taking action and getting it better. But it's like it's like survival things, but
dude,
thrive things too, right?
Yeah, they need to teach this in schools, honestly. Learn how to balance checkbook, learn how to talk to your body, communicate.
Yeah, for sure.
That's wild. I can't imagine being, everything, but except how to.
Isn't
help
that
your
crazy?
Own body?
Yeah. I mean, that was such a big thing. I was like, I was mind blown. I was like, it's like one of those things you never forget. This guy was like, He was like Superman, you know, making shelters. He was like the top guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Hunting, like beast, you know, beast. Mindset, everything. And then he hurt his knee, and then he was like a white belt.
Fish out of water.
Fish out of water.
Ooh.
He didn't know what to do. And then he went septic, and then they had to get picked up by the helicopter.
No
He
way.
lost the show, yeah.
Imagine something.
And you
simple
have like
that.
you know that and he would have to have done is moved his knee like you do for when you hurt your ACL and all that, you know. That's like my go-to knee. I always show that one to everybody, right? That my go-to knee movement.
Yeah.
And one way, and then the other way, and then and then if there's something else, you just move everything, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because everything's interconnected.
Yeah, above and below the chain, but the whole thing. Oof. I mean, I don't think I would know. I'm not a great hunter. I know how to cast a line and fish, but I don't know if I'd know how to build a shelter out there.
Yeah, that guy, like I was saying, that guy was like just a beast, you know,
Crazy.
like Superman, you know, and out in the wild. But he didn't know that. I was like, what?
Dude. Yeah, you got to reach out. Get some tack fit in that show.
We have Pedro, you know, from Spain, the Tack with Spain, and he does a lot of survival things, you know, survival, Tack with survival like workshops, how to build shelter, how to make fire, you know, survival things, right? Build shelter, you know, all those kinds of things. And Tack fit is such a big part of his, you know, what he does.
That's awesome. He's like Bear Grylls plus tack fit.
I mean, you know, and he explains why. You know, like your breath, this, that, you know, connecting the body parts, the structure, because, you know, when you do certain things hour after hour, you have to have certain structure, just body awareness, right? That you can apply to everything, right? Survival things, to whatever it is, you know, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Holding a baby, you know, moms.
Yeah, huh?
7 key components, right?
That's right.
Shoulder pack.
That's right. Take a lot from that stuff, man. I need to be teaching it in schools.
Yeah. I think one of the things that from all those neuroscience courses and, you know, because TACFIT's like applied neuroscience, right? I think one of the things that I guess a dream thing would be to have like assessment for kids on their, you know, for example, like their eyes, you know, their vision, test their vestibular, like how their head moves in space and how it integrates with their eyes, you know, because some people have deficits, you know, and they go through their whole life thinking they're not good at playing ball sports or doing whatever. And all they were doing, they missed, they were just disconnected a little bit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, wild how that could change someone's like perception of the world.
Or their eyes are, you know, whatever, they don't have a certain, you know, tracking thing or whatever it is. There's just a disconnect from whatever happens, right? Traumas or whatever, you know? And they have learning disabilities supposedly, right? But it's just like there's a disconnect. You're just assessing the kids, and then you can do little drills like we do in TACFIT to reconnect things, right? Same thing with the eye, same thing with the vestibular, because it's not just one or the other. Like we have 3 satellite systems, right? Like for example, we have all these like senses of where we are in space, right? Our visual, our eyes, our vestibular system, how our head moves in space, forward, backwards, sideways, you know, tilting, you know, and it's like in our inner ear, right? And there's like a little nerve at the bottom, and it's like jello with little rocks on the top. So when you move your head to the side, the rocks kind of with gravity get pulled to the side, and then your nerve, it's like the size of your fingernail, right? The whole vestibular thing. But it's powerful, right?
Wow.
And it's like integrating with your eyes. And then also your proprioception, like the sensors in your body, right? Your ligaments, your tendons, your skin. That's why like all the into-flow stuff, moving your joints in a place clears up that GPS of where you are in space. You know, like for example, if you're offline and you travel somewhere and you don't have like Wi-Fi, your GPS, you can't really zoom in on the area, right? If you're trying to get to a place.
Right.
Right? When you see that on your phone, on the Google Maps or whatever, and then when you have Wi-Fi, you can zoom in, you can get into detail of where everything is, and you know. So same thing, we're always trying to make that map clear with like the interflow and all the TACFIT things.
Oh, what a cool way to explain it too. That makes so much sense, comparing it to like GPS in your phone. Wow.
And so assessing your visual and your vestibular, and what's crazy as I started to go and do all these courses, like for example, our Q test in TACFIT, you know, You're familiar with the test, right?
I don't think so, actually.
So we do like lunges, right? So our head is going forward and backwards, right? We're kind of going down a little bit, right? And then the next one is the pull plank, where we're kind of facing down, we're going forward and backwards. And then the next one is the sit-throughs, right?
Yeah,
You're kind of twisting and you're kind of, you know, still kind of facing down, but you're up a little bit more, but you're twisting, right? And then the next one, you're laying flat on your back, you're doing the spinal rocks. And so now your head is facing up. And then the last thing is the tripod, which is full extension of your body, opening everything up. And so even the whole the exercise itself is compensation. It's like stretching. It's releasing tension in the body. But also your vestibular is getting that, you know, it's getting stimulation. It's getting connections to the body, to all your, all your ligaments, tendons, your body. And because of that, you get your brain, you feel more safe and your mobility improves. Everything works better. You know, your brain is working better. You feel better.
It's like reestablishing all those connections. It's powerful.
Yeah,
it's
and
really
we're like
powerful.
on our phones a lot. We're on computers. We all sit down too much. Even when we're so blessed we get to do, you know, a very active thing, but we're still so much on you know, sitting down, right, in daily life.
Yeah, sitting on the couch at home or the computer chair at home.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So these things are like, even like Scott says, like what we need to do: inch flow every day. Get your heart rate up once, like 20 minutes a day. And it doesn't have to be crazy, you know, 60 to 80% of the heart rate max, right? Like less is more.
Well, yeah. I got to learn that one.
No, I mean, let's just like, you know, you figure it out. I'm talking about just for like the way like a blanket kind of thing, you know?
Sure.
You know, and then lift something heavy like once or twice a week. And that's all we need to, you know, to stay connected and feel good. Like I'm talking about the minimum, you know?
Yeah, baseline.
Baseline, yeah, that's your baseline.
Yeah,
And you flow every day, get your heart rate up so your heart and lungs and everything is connected, right? And everything's moving, right? Get your heart rate up once a day, like, you know, and that can go in different ways, where you don't have to go like, you know, crazy one day every day, right? And then I just lost my train of thought with the yell downstairs.
Yeah.
And then lift something heavy, right? Like once or twice a week. That's it, you know. And of course, then we have like the moving in all the different directions. You can go different depending on what you need, right? Maybe you're super tired. You're like, you feel so locked up. And what can get you locked up, right? What can get you like what can get you stiff, right? A lot of things, right? Maybe overtraining, maybe doing too much, not knowing, having that basic, like we do the cool downs, where we're flexing the opposite sides. I think I'm nerding out too much on
No,
that type of
I'm
stuff.
here for it.
Like, yeah, but like, you know, like you know, we work out and we train hard, and then if we don't do the cool down where we flex the opposite side of our body, those muscles stay on, and that's why we get so sore and so stiff. But if you just spend a few minutes after training, like you said, like it's a game changer. You feel better throughout the day. You can train more. You can feel better. You can really recover better, right?
That it really is the other half of, or more than half of training, right? Is you
Yeah.
have to. The more you train, the more you have to recover.
Yeah, and it's interesting too with all my daughter being in the wrestling and Ozdemir and just the whole Soviet kind of Russian style of training, you know, and it's all like kind of tack fit way, like gymnastic training, like just all the elements are there, and that's why there's like, you know, you can't like deny the greatness, you know, like all the, you know, the Khabibs and all those guys, like there's something special about them, you know. It's the way they train. It's the systematic way they train, like starting from the Soviets, right? It was like the biggest case study in the history of mankind. If you're a trainer, the records weren't yours; they belonged to the government, and they're like, okay, this works, this doesn't work, and so they figure out what works and what doesn't work.
They optimized it pretty well.
Yeah. So
I guess that makes sense why they have so many world champions coming out of there, huh? And I've rolled with Ozdemir. I know.
Olympic champions, world champions, and now the UFC, right? These UFC champs.
I mean,
They
look at
keep
that part of the
coming.
world is taking over right now.
Yeah. Of course, genetics, but like they're doing something right?
Yeah, of course genetics play a role. But the hard work they're putting in does, you know, a whole lot too. Yeah, I think about that a lot as I get older too. You know, it's strength training a couple times a week. Say, you know, and the habits we're building now. You know, my dad just turned 60, and he's slowing down a little bit, but he was just came out to Joshua Tree last year. We did like a 10-mile hike. 60 years old. We're still doing.
Nice.
We had to take breaks, whatever, and he was a little frustrated. I wanted to keep pushing and going. I'm like, we're out here, man. And that was a direct result of, my dad's been a personal trainer my whole life.
Oh, okay.
So he was teaching me lifting, had me doing things that,
At a young age.
Relatively young age. It was all body weight until, what was his rule is when you start shaving, you can start lifting weights. Wait until your testosterone kicks in. You start growing up a little bit. But had me very interested in that at a very young age. And he has been strength training my whole life. And that's one of the reasons he's able to still do so much now. He hasn't had any major injuries. He knew when to take breaks. He never did like martial arts, but always strength training. So those kind of habits.
That's awesome.
Yeah, carry over. I'm looking forward to doing that as well,
Yeah, that's it. Well, what are some things that people don't know about you?
Oh, good question.
Besides the guys kicking the bag below.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't realize how much it carried up here. What don't people know
I think
about
of Roadhouse. There was back when I first met you. Okay, you worked at a bar. Okay, you did something else besides being in the gym, besides Muay Thai and then Jiu-Jitsu and Tac Fit. But like being in the gym. Now that's all I think of you as doing.
I'm proud of that. Hell yeah. I'm
You've
cool
earned
with
it,
that.
right? You've earned it.
Hell yeah. I hope so. I'm working on a side hustle right now. I've been working on it for a few years as day trading.
Okay.
Stocks and crypto. Nice. And it's pretty awesome, the similarities between that and I would say jiu-jitsu. It's very much like pattern recognition. You got to learn how to read patterns. A lot of it is psychology, so you got to understand what those patterns represent. You have to go through thousands and thousands and thousands of repetitions until you really get a feel for it. And there is no ending to it. There's no mastery. You're constantly at the you're held by your emotions. You have to have control of your emotions. And I think jiu-jitsu or fighting is very similar to that. Is if you lose control of your emotions, you get angry, you see red or whatever. If you lose control of your emotions, you burn yourself out. You get distracted. You're not as focused. The same thing in trading. So I've been really excited to see that similarity. And one day I hope to connect the two. I hope to show fighters or jiu-jitsu players or whoever how you can make a living off of your computer. That's really my ultimate goal, is make a living off my computer working 2 or 3 hours a day and train the rest of the time.
Cool.
I just want to spend more time at the gym.
Cool.
I don't think I could at this point, but
love it. One of the things, because I was messing around too, like during like the last bull run of with crypto and stuff, and people get messed up because they get too greedy, and so making a rule, like I even did like a crypto course one time, and you make your rules kind of like you make your routine of training, like you make your training routine, and you don't break it for nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so same thing, you make your rules with, okay, when I get to this point, like I double or triple my whatever it is, my money, I'm gonna get out, or I'm gonna sell half, right? Make the money I put in, I'm gonna take that out. But they keep putting it back in, rolling it, because you get greedy. People get greedy, and then you're like losing, right?
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately,
that's a pattern that I see, like from people that talk to me, and same. I'm guilty of that too, But so now, if we're learning from that, you're like, okay, you have your. When I make this, I'm gonna take the money I put in and then just let it ride.
Exactly. I do that with my trading. As always, the style that I've developed in trading is when I get to, so you have like an entry price and you have like your safety net, stop loss. When I get to 50-50, I take half off, and now even if the price goes against me, I don't lose any money. And that puts you in a different place psychologically. Because now, if you have everything on the line, let's say you've got, even $1,000, all the money you got is $1,000 on the line, and that's running, your emotions are attached to every tick up and down. But you take half off, and all of a sudden, you feel like you're in control. It's kind of like getting to the back, and instead of just fighting for the choke, you just be patient, you let them cook. Yeah, so I love the similarities in it, and it's helped me in both.
Crypto, stocks, and martial arts training Patterns, right?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And it's, it's hard to do.
Patterns for success patterns.
But I mean, I don't think I could have chosen too many more difficult things to to spend all my time doing, because you're never a master of jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or trading.
Yeah.
It's a never-ending.
And you can make it on your own time, right? Pretty much.
And if you have the discipline,
Yeah.
which I think I do, you can do great things. So hopefully.
I know you do Muay Thai and martial arts for fun. Is there anything else that we don't know?
That's about it, man. Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, and trading.
People ask me that, and I'm like, I don't know. This is my fun. This is what I enjoy.
Yeah, pretty much. That's it. That's all I do, man. 168 hours a week.
It's a good place to be, right?
Yeah, like I said, and furthermore on the teaching aspect, like what you said earlier, I knew when I joined here, I knew that being in this place there was just positive things come out of this place. And I don't know what it is, if it's just, we're right at the end of a rainbow, or it's, a focal point of the world or the universe or what, but being in this place has yielded so many positive results for me, so many positive relationships, interactions, and to be around a bunch of people who only want to improve and grow. You're the sum of the 5 closest people to you.
Yeah.
And when you have a bunch of people around you who are all trying to grow and improve, you don't get caught with those kind of stagnant friends who are dragging you down. Because everybody here just wants to be better than they were yesterday. So that helps a lot.
That's really good, man. It's really cool you said that.
Pursuing other things, everybody wants to do something.
These Harvard, it was a Harvard study, right? It's like a 50-year Harvard study, something like that, right? And like the top or the number one indicator of somebody's success is the 5 people you have around you.
Pretty powerful. And you take stock of those 5 people. If you're really honest, you take stock of those 5 people and you kind of start to see, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why I'm getting pulled in one way or the other. So very grateful to be a part of something so good and hopefully contribute too, Mm-hmm. That's a big piece of mine, is I want to make sure I'm contributing, not just taking,
Love it, man. Well, thank you for all that you do, from our adults classes in Muay Thai to our kids, just being a part of all the programs, your energy. Love calling you Roadhouse. I love calling you Coach Roadhouse. And it's been awesome, man. It was nice to go down a little bit memory lane and like remember that was like only on the Thursdays, right? The Thursday day classes that you started teaching.
And now we got over 20 people in that class when it was nobody in the beginning.
Yeah. It's amazing, man. And thank you for all that you do.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you.
Hell yeah, I'm proud to be a part of the team.
How can people find you?
You can get me on Instagram, mracer.
What's mracer?
Before I was really into martial arts, I was really into cars.
There you go. Okay.
And so I wanted to start my initials are MR, so I wanted to start a racing company called mracer. Damn, I gotta change that Instagram handle. Roadhouse is taken though.
It's taken.
Yeah, I might have to fight the guy.
You can change it up. Mix it in with some Muay Thai or something,
Yeah, it should be Coach Roadhouse or something.
Roadhouse what?
Roadhouse Matt.
There you go. Yeah, because nobody even knows your name. Roadhouse is your name.
Nah, we'll keep it a mystery. I like it better that way anyway. Yeah. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. Holler at me. Come get some training in. Come join the team. Change your life, man. It changed my life so much for the better. Yeah. Thank you, Professor. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate
Hell
you.
Yeah.